Welcome back to the Corvette Experience. We've had a nice few postings on getting out and about, car reviews, test drives, cars and coffee, all that's been great. Now I want to get back technically and get to kind of the most important part I think of this channel is if you have your own car, how can you get it done yourself in your own garage with your own tools? And if you have to rely on somebody, you can, but for the most part, at least you'll know what's happening before someone else does it. And you can just keep the process honest, right? So here we are with my C2. During the beginning of the pandemic, right before it started actually, we were blessed with our second child, and so my days and nights were flipped anyway, and plus we were in quarantine. So I would get down here at night starting at about 10 o'clock, if not later, and stay as long as I could just to start understanding how to restore the interior of my car. So what I had done was just rip everything out basically and then start putting it back. And it wasn't a one-for-one, like take out the dash, restore it, put it back, or take out the carpets, restore and put them back. It really was just an idea of once you got it all out, you figured out how to put it back in. And it wasn't how I thought it would be, but it was a whole lot of fun and a very good learning experience. There's lots of things on, a lot of details and how-tos on the internet and forums that I had used, and I'll offer up those links as to what they were as I used them, whichever video I post. But everything was done. Took out dashed cluster, restored dash, restored carpets. I left the seats to the original seats to the car, so there really wasn't much to do. They're in really good shape. What else? Had some repairs to the floor pan on the passenger side, so there's some restoration fiberglass work I can show as well. But along the way you pick up these little tricks and trades on how to restore the car, your car, or anything you're trying to do, and you shouldn't be afraid of it. I was a little apprehensive, but as soon as I started, it became a little bit easier to be more comfortable with what I was doing to get it done. And so this is just the intro to it. I'm gonna kick this off and then start attaching the videos from way back when on how I had done this. So stay tuned, please subscribe, please hit like. I'm enjoying this, I hope you are too. Here's some still pictures of the interior prior to me taking out the original. The carpet was worn a bit, but it did look like it had been replaced in the not so distant past. But when you looked at the dash, it was in terrible shape. There was a vinyl cover on it. I couldn't be sure if it was the original. Given the poor installation, fit and finish, I just could not stop taking my eyes off the diagonal cuts for the radio dials, the bubbling at the bottom where the dash meets the console, and, well, let's say, the patina of the cluster. I hope you can get a sense of this with the pictures. Feel free to pause and take a longer look. I happen to hold a professional license in Agile Project Management as an engineer, and so I started working through how can one person best restore the interior. Well, it turns out the process leads itself when you have so many parts in the interior that need restored or replaced. To that point, the only parts replaced in the interior are the carpets and the radio knob spacers. There are a few parts in the cluster that are replaced, and we will cover that in a different video. So back to the interior. I decided to start with the carpets. Where this video picks up, I've already uninstalled the seats, taken out the carpets, and scraped up the glue with parts of the carpet foam that I tore off as I pulled it out from the floor pan. A quick mention to Mid-Year Mitch. It was his posting of installing the sound and heat deadening and then carpet installation videos that inspired me to get this done. So I start with installing the sound deadening and heat barrier, and I decided to go with Summit's Ultimate Heat Barrier Sound Deaden mats. There's a couple preferred mats out there like Dynamat, but I like the pre-cut mats and the pricing from Summit. And to install, you simply lay the mats, measure, cut, peel, stick, wash, rinse, and repeat. There's no template, and so feel free to use your artistic skills to apply. My goal was to cover from where the trunk meets the seat backs to just below where the firewall installation meets the carpets. There's a roller tool that did make this installation better and the mats smoother. You can see this tool in the completed floor pan picture. Did it again. Alright, as I'm laying this stuff down, I am fascinated by the way it works and applies. It's not too bad at all. It's, yeah, 2 parts. Maybe 1 part craft project and another part satisfaction of compliance, and then maybe, you know, another part of assurance that when it's done, you've got some sort of barrier protection. Pretty awesome. I'm gonna do some cutting, come back. I think it is. I've got some project management tricks here. I've got lessons learned from the other side, and now I've applied it to this to make this a little bit easier of an application. The lesson here was on the other side it was just hard to mold the roll. And so now I've just split it, and I'll add the other part. It's going to be the way it's done. It's a little more compliant as well. And I feel a heck of a lot better doing it this way. The question now is, where's the roller? I'll be back. I don't know, it might come through with this video or not, but sometimes you remember where you put things, and sometimes you don't. This one happens to be right there. All right. There's a little bit of fun in this process, rolling this up and down. It seems kind of elementary, but I like it. Back to being a kid. I get a 6-year-old Cole. Obviously, this is the Corvette. This makes me think that he would actually enjoy doing something like this. Be back. Need to make a cut. Maybe some other tips and tricks. When you're doing this kind of work, you kind of get in the mode of one process, and then you realize, hey, I gotta stop and do something different. It's always worth it. Just have fun with it. Right now I had to get this blade, come back, and so I'm fine with it. But there's that internal mental negotiation that you give yourself. Should I or shouldn't I? I'm here to tell you, you should. Just do it. You'll feel better for it. I sure do. I feel a lot more confident. Whoops. There you go. See here. I liked it here. Go back. All right, I like that. All right, now this is where it gets wonky because of this geometry down here, or whatever you'd like to call it. In this case, form. It's a bit tough to get it all lined in. I'm not sure if it makes a heck of a difference. Honestly, it seems like it's a good idea to continue. I've got some holes to remind myself of underneath. I have to drill from underneath. That's probably the way to do it. I can just find it, I guess. Yeah, I can find those. This is another fear of mine, is that I'm not going to do a good enough job.